What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Glint Standard Podcast. Last week, it was a little serious.
A little bit.
So we're just deciding we're going to take it easy. We're going to do a little loving lately. What me and Jonathan have been talking about, thinking about lately. I hope you have a good time with us. Okay, let's start. Woo!
All right,
Okay.
Jay.
What's up, Jonathan?
What's up, dude? All right. So yeah, like last time we talked very serious with a client about kind of like some very heavy topics with Amplify and kind of some of the stuff that they've been doing and Steven's history with that company. But we thought about just making it simple today. We're just talking about some stuff that we like.
Yeah, stuff we're into.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll relate it to marketing a little bit,
Just a tad.
of course, but you know, just stuff we kind of. I don't know, the stuff we like about lately.
Yeah, like these are a little bit looser. They're not usually like so marketing related. We'll relate it back to it in some ways, but tell me though, where did the name Loving Lately start? Because like that's something I've always wondered ever sins you guys.
This is
about
Arena.
it. All Arena.
All
All
Arena.
Arena.
Arena, you might have to come in and just be the loving lately,
Yeah.
Okay.
loving lately lady. Just give us one.
Yeah.
Come here. You come sit.
come
you come
over here.
sit.
Okay, wait, I'm gonna go all the way around.
Okay, going all the way around. But Arena was the loving lately queen,
Yeah.
and the first time she came in, she talked about a lot of things.
Yeah.
She loved a lot of stuff
I
lately.
did. And some of them were ridiculous.
Yeah.
Here, you come in. You come
Um,
in.
Okay, but I'm gonna tell you where the title came from.
Yeah.
So, I kind of shared it with
Okay.
like a book podcast that
Okay.
I listen to.
Yeah.
And they have Loving Latelys. So I should give them credit, but I can't remember which. I can't remember which podcast it is. So maybe we can put it in. I always say show.
Yeah.
notes.
Check the description. We'll put it in the description.
Yeah, but this is the stuff that they talk about. They talk about like skincare.
Oh, okay.
And and like lipstick.
Yeah.
And blankets.
Well, I'll be sure to talk about my favorite lipstick today.
Thank you. I would love it.
Yeah.
For our other listeners and
For other
viewers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay, y'all got
Yeah,
it.
I've always heard the name. I never knew where it came from though. So I guess it came from a book podcast and
Classic.
podcast. Okay. Yeah.
Arena was doing her little research on the podcast. She said, "This is what I like. We're doing it."
Yeah. Well, why don't you start? What's something that you've been loving lately?
I'm gonna immediately go to the part where we're gonna talk about marketing
Okay.
a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, so there's been a lot of stuff, right?
Okay.
I've been noticing a shift, right? Well, I'm a young person, so the ads that I get are I've been used to advertisements on YouTube, on everything forever, and for my generation, the biggest thing we want to do is get rid of ads
Okay.
and just skip. If it's a 30-second YouTube ad and there's no skip button, I'm like, I'll never use your product.
Yeah.
But lately, a lot of these advertisements I'm getting are, it's not even an advertisement about the product. It's I scroll through like YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, TikTok or whatever, and the advertisement is just like a guy like doing like stand-up comedy, or it's a guy doing those street interviews. Like, I ask you a few questions, you tell, and I'll guess what country you're from. You know, it's all this stuff, and it has nothing to do. The only thing that has to do with the advertisement is on this video that I'm watching fully because I'm genuinely interested, just like any other TikTok, is that at the bottom it has that little pop-up that this is the like this is us.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's kind of interesting, but I do like it in that sense of I'm watching the like ad almost. It's like it's just like a guy doing whatever, making like a normal TikTok video to try to like kind of go viral.
Yeah.
And I'm interested because I've brought this up with people.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see like what you think about that as a marketer. Like, do you think that works, or do you think that just because, like, do you think that's for the client almost? Because they might get a lot of impressions.
Yeah.
Right? You know, their ad might get more views than usual.
Yeah.
But do you think that leads to people clicking on that little bottom thing, like that little pop-up? I don't know.
I don't know. It's interesting because it almost reminds me. It's interesting because, like, I'm a big like film geek. Like, I love movies, I love shows, I love storytelling. Like, if you've watched any of our other podcasts, like, I talk about that a lot. But it almost reminds me of product placement.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of almost like, you know, for instance, I remember one that was notorious for it was Zack Snyder directed Man of Steel.
Right.
And you would be watching it, and it was almost disruptive because you would see, like, he uses an IHOP.
Yeah.
Or a Pepsi. Or, like, you know, Clark Kent would be thirsty, and he'd walk over to the fridge, open the fridge, and pull out a Coca-Cola.
That is I'm sorry to cut you
No,
off.
no, you're fine.
That is a classic.
Yeah.
I noticed that in every single movie.
Yeah.
They're drinking out of a thing, and the
it's right
the
there.
Bar, it's like, yeah.
You know what's another movie that was really guilty of doing stuff like that?
Yeah.
Transformers.
Yeah.
They were like, and I get it, because it's Transformers, but they were car ads, man. Yeah. Like you can say that they were for, like, entertainment. They were 100% car ads. Like, the shots they would get were, like, these low-angle shots that you see on car commercials of them driving down the road. I remember, like, that Camaro. They sold the hell out of that Camaro for Bumblebee. But, yeah, I don't know. Like, I have a weird reaction to it because, like I said, it reminds me of product placement.
Yeah.
But product placement, I've heard arguments on either side. So, in entertainment, some people say product placement pulls people out of it.
Yeah.
Because it's like you're enjoying the film, and all of a sudden it's like, what the heck? There's a Coca-Cola right there. Like, what?
Yeah.
But some people make an argument for it because in storytelling, they say that it can connect you to that world a bit more, and it can make it feel more like a world that you exist in.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I would be interested to see just over time as that evolves, kind of some of the approaches that people take to change it and use it differently. Because, like, nothing's. There are bad ideas, but for the most part, most things that we deem as, like, bad ideas are just executed poorly.
Yeah.
So the idea of placing those things, like, at the bottom or somewhere around the screen, or even implemented, like, I think you brought up an example of, like, Star Wars. Like, there's you want to talk about that a little bit?
So there's this, like, it's old back in the day when Star Wars was being, like, I guess, like, syndicated. It's being shown on TV, and, you know, there's a scene where they go to, like, grab something out of a little counter.
Yeah.
And instead of pulling out, like, a lightsaber, it's like a beer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just like, it's seamless. Like, they were thinking back in the day, everybody loves Star Wars.
Yeah.
The thing that the people hate is when a Star Wars movie goes to ads.
Yeah.
So they're just going to make it, the ad break starts with him, it's like it's still the movie going on.
Yeah.
I also think of, like, I think of, like, it in a meta type of way.
Yeah.
Like in Wayne's World, right?
Yeah.
So they make fun of product placement. Like, oh, I'm gonna eat these Dorito bags.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they were doing product placement.
Back in the day.
They were getting paid right then. And I don't know. I'm interested in see how that evolves, or if this strategy just kind of, it's like, oh, it's not working, like, you know?
Yeah.
But for right now in my life, I see it all the time.
Yeah.
Where it's just a guy asking people questions on the street, or it's just a clip of, like, a stand-up comedian, or I'm sure it's different for other people's For You page, but, like, those are the type of videos I watch, and it's just kind of like people who are just like, yeah, people watch this. Yeah. We're gonna put your ad right here.
Yeah.
It's that type of thing.
Yeah, it's interesting because, like, I think something that you'll see too, because I've seen some people talk about it, but they've toyed around with the idea of with as it relates to, like, video games, putting ads inside of video games. One example that I saw one time too, and again, like, it's the jury's out on if it can be implemented well enough or not, because again, a lot of times it comes down to execution, but like Fortnite.
Yeah.
I remember there was a point in time where Fortnite, it's not really my game, but I've heard people talk about it, and they were finding ways to, for instance, you land a specific part of the map,
Yeah.
and they would have advertisements, just like you'd see a billboard in real life.
Yeah.
You see an advertisement for, like, I don't know, Pepsi
Yeah.
or whatever inside, like, the game. So I think that stuff is cool. I think it's really curious to see the different ways people are finding unique ways to do ads. And this leads into my loving lately. I also have one that I think is a cool marketing approach that is very, like, I love anti-marketing.
Right.
I love when people take marketing and they do something very, very, that's kind of like ancillary or opposite to marketing. So, as an example, typically when it comes to staying on the film and topic, typically you kind of have like a 6-month period before a movie comes out that you see trailers.
Yeah.
They have that 6-month period because they typically release 3 trailers.
Mhm.
You get your teaser trailer, your official trailer 1, which goes more into story, and your official trailer 2, and sometimes you might get one more that's like a full story breakdown trailer.
Yeah.
What they've been doing lately, and not just with film but for video games too, is they've done these kind of and this isn't the textbook word for it, but almost like ghost campaigns,
Yeah.
where there will be these rumblings on like Reddit of like, hey, they're going to release this game or a remaster of this game. The one that I'm referencing right now is Oblivion. If any of you guys know what Oblivion is, it's a big fantasy RPG game that a lot of gamers like really, really hold dearly. Like, they really love it. But that's a big property, and they released a trailer for it. And at the end of the trailer, they said, "Oh, by the way, it's available now."
Yeah.
And everybody's like, "What the heck?" Because usually when these trailers come out, you gotta wait months for these things to come out, and they do that because they want to build momentum. You know, we
Yeah.
talk about that a lot in marketing. Is we want to build momentum towards an event or a product launch or something like that. But what I think they're noticing, and I'm curious to see how this evolves in the future, is that rather than, for instance, we'll take a movie, for example, rather than a movie releasing opening, build all that momentum, some of it dies off, and maybe they earn, I don't know, we'll say 50,000 views in the first night. Well,
Right.
that's a very low number, but for the sake of math, we're just
Yeah.
using that number. What they're finding is that while they may not get as much on opening night,
Mhm.
in the subsequent week, they're getting more views because everybody's jumping on it like immediately.
Yeah.
And everybody thinks it's really cool because it feels very
It's like for you.
yeah, exactly.
It's like they're like you're excited.
yeah,
Guess what?
yeah. Here's this thing.
Yeah.
The big thing I've been really on lately that this applies to is I'm a huge dork. I love comic books and I love like Marvel and DC and all this other stuff, but I also really love sci-fi.
Mhm.
And ever since I was like a kid, I've loved like Alien and Predator. Like
Yeah.
that's like a big property I loved. And I loved like as much as the movie is like a terrible movie. I love like Alien vs Predator.
Yeah.
Well, the rights got bought by 20th Century Fox, and they're kind of trying to do like soft relaunches of these properties.
Mhm.
But for example, there's a movie that comes out tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's the 6th in this case.
Yeah,
So
it's
it'll
the
already be
6th.
out once
It's
this
already
podcast is out.
Yeah. You've probably seen it.
Yeah,
already.
by now probably. If you haven't, go check it out. But on the 6th, they're releasing a movie called Predator Killer of Killers.
Mhm.
Now, it's an animated movie, but it's made by the same guy that made Prey on Hulu. But what's really cool is they released this trailer for this a month before the movie comes out. And then 2 weeks ago, they released a second trailer.
Yeah.
And the buzz for this movie, I think, has been really wild. Like they showed it at a couple of film festivals, and it has, according to some of the reviews that came out, it has like Oscar level, like for animated feature, it has Oscar level possibilities. So
Yeah.
it's very interesting seeing entertainment take this different route, especially with streaming being an option, because that's where it's available. It's available on Hulu. It's really cool seeing companies try these different marketing approaches to pushing products instead of your stereotypical, first trailer, 6 months, 3 months in you get a second trailer, another 3 months you get one final trailer. Like, it's been very interesting seeing people experiment with that and the effects that it's had. Same thing for video games. It's been very interesting seeing that approach because I will say, like, the drawback is that it works with big properties.
Yeah.
So properties that you already like mentally know about, you may not participate in that property, but you know what it is.
Yeah.
It tends to work best for those kind of properties. But that's still cool seeing these big name companies find new ways to innovate, because a lot of times they can get very lazy and just do what has worked for years and years and years.
Yeah.
But it's really cool seeing big companies try and experiment with new things that typically wouldn't work, or you wouldn't think would be done or appropriate. So it's really cool seeing new stuff. So yeah, I've loved ghost campaigns like this, and again, that's what I just call them. But I really love like seeing these like phantom properties that just drop stuff out of nowhere.
Show up.
Yeah, which is great for like my generation's guilty of it, but your generation is really guilty of it. Is like a lack of attention span.
Yes.
And I think it really caters to that.
I have something that kind of like goes off that. There's these indie games type of way, just to bring it to video games for a second, and there's definitely burnout nowadays in the world where people are like, saw it, I'm done.
Yeah.
But there's these games that are getting such traction because it's the same way with like trailers, like the same way where you release a trailer this day, and it's like it says coming next summer.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm excited for it right now.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
100%.
And then you forget about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, maybe 6 months down the line, another trailer comes out.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I remember that.
Yeah.
I'm excited again. Then 3 months comes, it's like you get another trailer, and it's like, all right, when is this? You're like almost annoyed. Like, I'm like, I've seen it. I've seen 3 trailers.
Yeah.
Is the movie not done? Have
Yeah.
you guys not edited it yet?
Yeah.
Like, have you even shot them? I don't know. It's like, for a consumer, you're like, what's going on?
Well, there's I'd like to add to that too, because there's risk.
Yeah.
Because how many times have we seen a trailer and it spoils everything?
Yes.
And I think that's what it actually is, like a risk mitigation, because sometimes people see a trailer and then like, I saw the whole movie.
Yeah.
I'm not really interested anymore. Like I don't really know what, like now I kind of know what's going to happen, or maybe it's just not a good trailer. Because there's a guy I watch called on the John Campea show. It's a podcast on YouTube, but he did a whole like mini documentary on movie trailers, because I agree with him, as obviously working in marketing. There's a whole art just to movie trailers alone, how you're going to tell that story without giving too much away. And sometimes bad trailers come out. Like there's been movies I'm excited for, and then a second or third trailer comes out. I lose all interest.
I'm like, oh, they're going to do that.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, like this is just the exact same. It's really bad for horror movies.
Yeah.
Really bad for horror movies. So
because you want to show that the movie is scary, but you can't. If the biggest jump scare of the movie happens, it's not gonna. You're like, all right, I saw it.
And then exactly. And then also, that's 3 trailers, and they can't just show the same stuff.
Yeah, it has to.
It has to be different, because then you're like, well, why did I watch this trailer? The last trailer showed me all this same stuff. So you don't get hyped from it because you saw stuff that you were already excited about. So I don't know. It's a very interesting solution that I'm curious to see if more larger properties pick up on. But man, that's been kind of like what I've been loving lately, and it's fun too as a marketer. Yeah, like being able to guess certain marketing materials that come out. Like, oh, they did this. I bet you in 3 days they're going to drop a clip of such and such. So, like as an example, the movie that I was talking about, Predator Killer Killers, it has 3 main stories. Yeah. In the lead up to the last week for its release, they released like a clip from each story. Yeah. And it was, I don't know, it's fun as a marketer being able to guess like, oh, I bet you they're going to release this one. Yeah. Oh, I bet you're going to release this one this day. And I bet you, and it's fun too being able to guess like, oh, it's going to come out around noon, because noon's when everybody's on lunch. True. And when everybody just kind of like wants to look at stuff, or they might do like noon Eastern time or different time zones, so you can kind of guess when. You got it. That is a thing too that I don't think people like. I don't know if people think about that every day. Timing? Like the time when things happen is. So you got to think about that. Yeah, we do it with emails all the time. It's like I mean, if you're releasing your thing on like a Friday at like 6 to 7, people are out. No, because they're out drinking or they're out getting having fun, you know. Or whatever. Like a Saturday, maybe a Sunday. Sunday's a good day. Sunday that everybody's at home. They're like, it's my rest day. Yeah, Sunday's a good day. Sunday's good too, because then Monday they call carries them over. Yeah, it carries over, but they call it a water cooler conversation. Yeah. So like, you know, back in the day in the office, there was a water cooler, and you just like talk around the water cooler. And so Sunday's a great day to release it, because then you have something to talk about Monday. That's why actually when you look at like HBO.
Yeah.
Like Game of Thrones, The Last of Us, you know, a lot of big name HBO shows release on Sunday.
Yeah.
It's because people want to talk about it Monday.
Yes.
So yeah, there's all kinds of strategy behind that stuff, and you know, we implement that stuff here, like
Yeah.
for our like emails. Like a lot of times we try and make emails go out at like 11.
Yeah.
Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday tends to be kind of the best days for emails.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So and same thing for events. You know, event coordinators a lot of times will have events on Thursday or Friday.
Yeah.
Because people are more likely to go to your event because they want to start their weekend early.
Yeah.
So if you have an event like Friday at 3:00, that's a great time because everybody wants to leave the office early. So yeah, no, it's cool being able to like look at entertainment and look at these bigger companies doing these things and being able to be like, oh yeah, I know why you did that.
I have a thing too, just to go back to like almost not trailers, but like in a video, it's about video games,
Yeah.
but in a sense, so there's a game I'm playing right now, and it's a demo,
Okay.
and you basically get to play the whole game.
Okay.
And at the end of it is like, make sure you put this on your wish list for when it comes out.
Yeah.
Like, make sure to buy it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I beat the game.
Basically played it. Yeah.
I'm like, I'm never. Thank you for making it free.
Yeah.
I'm never buying this game.
Dude.
But there's a game that I think is doing it really good right now, and there's like in video games there's beta testing, alpha testing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just this kind of like time period, maybe like a week or a weekend, where, okay, we've got a game, we want to test our servers. We're gonna try to get so many people to see if the game works with, 100,000 people playing.
Yeah.
Right? And but oftentimes people will play that game and be like, it's
Yeah.
not for me.
Yeah.
But I've been playing this game recently, and the beta comes out for one day.
What's the game?
It's called Rematch,
Okay. Yeah.
and it's like a soccer game.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But it's you get to go and you play soccer with your friends. You control one guy. Everybody is like on the field, but it's out for one day.
yeah.
It doesn't give you an opportunity to get tired of it.
Okay.
Every people I know in my life
Yeah.
who, I mean, I've known them since 3rd, 4th grade.
Yeah.
They've never liked soccer once in their entire life.
Yeah.
I tell them to play this game. It's free for today.
Yeah.
And they're like, I want to play more.
Yeah.
But they have to wait.
Yeah.
And now those people who probably don't like soccer,
Yeah.
they played it for a day. That's so fun. It was so new.
Yeah.
It's so fun. They're going to buy the game.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting because like a game like Call of Duty,
Yeah.
they'll put their like little pre-test or whatever. They'll put it out for a week.
Yeah.
And all my friends will download it.
Yeah.
People who don't really like Call of Duty, they're like, all right, that was enough.
Yeah.
I played it as a
You played one, you played them all, kind of, yeah.
I played with my
Yeah.
friends for
Yeah.
a few days or whatever.
Yeah.
That's all I need from Call of Duty.
Yeah.
But limiting it to like just such a short amount of time.
Yeah.
Like you wanna play some more,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to buy it.
Yeah.
Like, or you're gonna have to wait for a random day
Yeah.
coming up,
Yeah.
and then be like, and then it's like, oh, it's back.
You know what that reminds me of?
Yeah.
It reminds me of like the old days of WoW when they had raids.
Yeah.
And not even just WoW, but even like Destiny or some of the other games that have like these raid events. Like they're scheduled timed events that you can only play.
Yeah.
Like you can play the game at any time, but like the event
It's happening.
Yeah, it has to happen at this time.
Yeah.
And so if you miss it, you miss it. And you get exclusive stuff if you go do this thing.
Yeah.
Like that's a formula that's been applied for a while, but it's cool hearing about how indie games are trying to, again, just like we talked about the big movie companies, taking these kind of attempts and twisting them and trying them in a different way.
It's just a little bit. I mean, it's
Yeah.
the same formula. It's just a little bit different.
Yeah.
And it creates that hype.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's something to think about.
Yeah.
Like in any marketing strategy.
Yeah.
Like how can we create, even if it's a small,
Mm-hmm.
local business.
Yeah.
How can you create that hype?
Yeah.
And even locally, just I don't know. It's,
on a smaller scale.
It's hard. It's an interesting question and kind of like, I don't know. I'm sure. I think people who watch this, they're interested in those kind of things, you know, or they wouldn't be watching. But it's an interesting thought experiment how you can try to relate like that big scale, like, all right, we've got a hype. How do we make it more? How do we make it more exciting?
Yeah.
It's like, because it applies.
Yeah.
It applies.
For sure.
So.
And I think piggybacking off of that, I think that remembering that, and I know some people hate this phrase, but I've heard it and I've seen it applied so many times, but marketing is really just an experiment. And I think that having that curiosity of like, well, we know this thing works this way. Mm-hmm. Let's take it and try it a different way and see if we get different results. They could be better, they could be worse. But having that freedom, and again, I get it. Everybody's worried about bottom line, everybody's worried about budget, and everybody's worried about money spent and ROI and KPIs and whatever other buzzword you want to apply.
Right.
But at the end of the day, like, just because it works here this way, the reality of it is that just because it works here this way doesn't mean it's going to work over here this way. Yeah. And trying and being open to trying different things and experimenting, I think that's, clearly we see it that even these big companies are still willing to do that. Now they have a little bit more freedom of revenue to take those risks. Yeah. But that doesn't mean that we can't take some of those lessons that they learn on their own expense and applying them to other areas to see if they work just as well. Mm-hmm. Like you said, the raids, all that stuff works on the big level for like the bigger AAA games, but some of these smaller indie games have found ways to take that same formula and apply it in different ways. So, no, I think that's really cool.
Because it wouldn't work if if you don't have an audience, then like doing that like grand scale thing, you have to like not let them play the game, even though even the people who are like dedicated to your game, mm-hmm. they want you. They like, please let us play more. Yeah. It's not about them. Yeah. It's about those people being so dedicated, like, we can only play this today. Yeah. Like it's about creating that like boundary, and it's just a different way of kind of marketing.
Well, it's the oldest marketing technique. Yeah. You're creating urgency. Yes. And it's interesting seeing how, again, these lessons that we've learned over years and years and years, that the same lessons just applied different ways. Because that's at the end of the day what it is. You're just creating urgency. You want to be able to talk about, you want to see the episode on Sunday so you can talk about it Monday. You want to play the game on that one single day so that you can have that experience with your friends. You want to go see that movie that just released the trailer because, again, you want to be able to talk about it with your friends or be on top of the conversation. So it's urgency and leveraging FOMO, fear of missing out. Fear of missing out. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, man, like that's some good stuff that we've both been taking a look at here lately. We appreciate you guys checking in. If you want to see more episodes just like this, the Glint Standard Podcast, we're available on all areas where podcasts are visible, whether that be YouTube or Spotify or any of some of the other ones. So we appreciate you guys, and we'll see you next time.
Maybe we'll be loving lately.
Maybe
something.
Again.
I don't know. What a great episode. Wasn't that so exciting and fun? If you want to see more episodes just like that, click like right here. And if you want to subscribe to us, click like right here. I think you'll like the podcast. We're a pretty fun group. All right, bye.